location of the 4 additional points of Yamamoto. We have here 4 points: the foot, the gastrocnemius, the extra shoulder, and the extra lumbar point. We will start with the extra lumbar point, that one. The extra lumbar point location is just in the middle between the angle of the mandibula and the dumai. Okay, so you divided this area on a half, and you want to be on the mandibular bone. Okay, so palpate again, sensitive point on the mandibular bone, just in the middle between the angle of the mandibula and the center of the chin, with the mid-cervical line. The extra shoulder. The extra shoulder is located here on this black point. What we want to find is exactly the angle of the mandibula, and then from the angle we're taking 45 degrees towards the nose, 45 degrees into the face, and fall to this gap that it's behind the muscle, behind the masseter muscle. Okay, we want to find a small hole in front of the mandibular bone and behind the masseter muscle. So that was the extra shoulder. Next point is the gastrocnemius. Again, treating spasm in the gastrocnemius muscle, and it's located again in the back side of the temporal mandibular joint. We have the joint dividing the mandibular bone and then the temporal bone, and you want to palpate the gap between them. Sometimes it's easy to ask the patient to open his mouth, and then you will feel the jaw open up. And then you go to the posterior side, posterior border of this joint, and needle from posterior to anterior. You want to hit the back side, the posterior side of the TMJ. That one. The foot point. The foot point, located on the sideburn, the front hairline, and on the zygomatic bone. Okay, if we have the zygomatic bone, you want to palpate on it. I remind you, above it, just above it, it's the large intestine epsilon of the in. So we want to be on the zygoma bone and in the front of the sideburn. Now, the foot point have a direction of needling. It's like a foot that stands like that. The plantar side of the foot is facing forward, and the dorsal side of the foot is facing backwards. So if you want to needle any kind of problem of the plantar side, you want to needle from front to back. And if you want to needle any kind of problem of the dorsal side, you want to needle from back to front, from posterior to anterior. Okay? To demonstrate to you that, we're going to needle that. We're going to needle both ways, because if you have any problem that occurs all over the foot, like let's say hallux valgus, you want to do a 2-needle technique, one from front to back and one from back to front in the same point. Both needles facing each other. So I'm taking one needle, palpating and searching for the sensitive point, and then putting the needle from back to front. And then I'm taking another needle and then putting this needle in the same spot, just from front to back. And then both of the needles are facing each other, and you can treat all the foot.